Manchester United in red and white have kicked off and are playing from right to left in the first half. And immediately Richard Shaw pushes in on Neil Webb, and Solarco picks up McClare. That was how it was on Saturday. This is Steve Bruce, and there goes Mark Hughes. Andy Thorne was with him. That's the first foul of the night, and it was Steve Bruce who felt it. Bruce again. Offside, was he, Hughes? Paris with Barber on the left and Gray on the right. Normal formation there. Terrific crowd noise at the moment inside Wembley. Well, just Mark Hughes at the moment up there for Manchester United. The others have all dropped back into midfield. O'Reilly. Looking for Gray, looking for Bright. Header there was by Jeff Thomas. This is Robson. It's Pardew trying to close him down. This is Bruce. Hughes had a fine match on Saturday. Barber. Ince. Phelan. Webb looking for Wallace. Flags up. In fact, the linesman was flagging for a foul up there where Wallace was, but the referee, I think, was already pulling play back deeper for an earlier offence. So Gary Pallister has made his way forward. Here's Robson. Bruce. Pallister. It was Andy Thorne who came round the back to clear for Palace. Gray's back there defending, so is Pemberton. Oh, a little bit off the ball. Gray and Hughes behind the referee's back. It's not to say he didn't see it, he turned quickly. This is Webb. Phelan. Flags up again. What's happening is John Pemberton has gone over to that side to mark Danny Wallace, and he seems to be getting tangled up with him, Trevor.
That was a little spillover from the first incident when Neil Webb was fouled to Richard Shaw. Another foul took place out on the touchline, and just before Michael Phelan played the ball up to him, Danny Wallace shoved John Pemberton out the way, and the linesman, eagle-eyed, was watching the play, and that's why he got the free kick.
Thomas, Webb, Pardew, Shaw, blocked by Robson. So 5 minutes gone. Bright's there, so is Barber. Cardew closing in, and so was Mark Bright. And that's the first test for Les Sealey, and the United players are furious. It was a rough and tumble challenge, and I suspect it'll be in a booking. Mark Bright was the player who went in, and heavily he did too, and Les Sealey's stunned. Before he's really had a chance to make a save or get a feel of the ball. It's a booking for Mark Bright. Yellow card. Trevor.
Well, quite right. There was never any danger he was going to get the ball. And as you see, as the ball comes across, Les Sealey really, his first cross, looking to deal with it comfortably, and really went up with his feet and his hands. And to be fair, when you get a new goalkeeper, especially on a cup final replay like this, usually the manager and the players think to themselves, well, just test him out early on. But I think Mark Bright just reacted a little bit there, and quite rightly ends up in the book early on as well.
I think Matt Busby winced a bit. Years ago in the cup final, United had two goalkeepers injured, Ray Wood and Harry Gregg, back in the 50s. But fortunately, Sealey seems to be okay. That's Robson. Here's Lee Martin, number 3, left back. But that's not a bad ball at all for Brian McClair. Across the field. Hughes waiting. Oh, and well taken out by Gary O'Reilly. Wallace was also waiting to pounce. Here's Andy Gray. Bright's through the middle. Cardew just inside. There's Bright. Pallister. Bright's up with the keeper again, and Les Sealey does well to hold on. They're really trying him out, aren't they? Putting a lot of nervous tension on him and shaking him up in the first few minutes. It's clear that that's a Palace policy. It's not strictly legitimate, but it's a test of nerve for Les Sealey, who, as I say, hasn't had much first-team football this season. Hasn't played at all for Luton, it might be said. But the two games he did play for Manchester United, both were won, so that might be an omen. Hughes, McClair. Header, then Cardew, then O'Reilly. Looks for Bright. Pallister. Oh, well played, Robson. Really dug in there, Brian Robson. It was the long ball again from Martin. O'Reilly. Bright. Thomas. Here's Paul Ince in midfield for Manchester United, number 2. Sulako's challenge. Well, the tackles are flying in a bit, Trevor, aren't they?
Well, Steve Coppell might have left Ian right for that point, but in fact most of the tackles have come from Crystal Palace and the free kicks to Manchester United. And I think Manchester United have started much more positively. Well, they're only playing 10 minutes, but on Saturday I thought it was quite a lethargic start by them. But they're sort of, Ryan Robson has set the tone, hasn't he, himself, with 2 or 3 crunching tackles. But they look a little bit more confident, where Crystal Palace, especially at the back, they've put a lot of balls back to the goalkeeper, and they're not really confident. And it's a nasty little atmosphere developing at the moment.
Yes, there are one or two vendettas building up. Pardew was spoken to by the referee. Thomas seemed to throw the ball against somebody's face. And Brian McClare made a protest earlier about the challenge, which really started it all and gave the free kick away. They're trying to shake United up. Bruce and Pallister are waiting for the set piece. 4 and 6. That was Pallister, but he was knocked out of it, rather. Here's Martin. Robson, who's very busy in midfield or early on. It was a clattering tackle by Lee Martin as well, but they're helping him up, so there's no hard feelings there. Robson, so much hinges on him tonight, looking to lift himself again on the big occasion. Hughes gets bended over. It was Andy Thorne, I think, wasn't it? Alec Ferguson's very unhappy about these tackles, Trevor.
Well, it was another bad tackle. Certainly being spoken to quite rightly, Andy Thorne, because it's the classic from behind through the legs, isn't it? I mean, the ball's played up to Mark Hughes, he's dropped in front of him. Here it is, Stevie Bruce drops it in. Mark Hughes comes to collect. There's no way through for the defender to get a touch of the ball without chopping the legs first. And that's what he promptly did. And for me, lucky to get away without being booked. And another one I'm sure he will be in.
Been fairly stormy this opening period in that respect. This is a free kick now to be taken for United. Away by Pemberton. Martin. Bruce. Here's Robson. Pemberton. Corner, was it? Yes, it's out.
Just an indication of this little bit of extra nervousness in their play this evening, Crystal Palace. That was a straightforward back pass with Johnson put down.
But McClare's nearly on the line. Pallister's hoping to flick it on, and there is Pallister, in fact. Off Webb. Most unusual ricochet, but I don't think it would have mattered. The linesman was flagging for offside, I think.
He had a ricochet on Saturday that was quite significant, wasn't it? Mark Hughes' goal, nearly another one there.
I think Neil Webb's actually a player on whom many eyes are focused for more reasons than one. Bobby Robson announces the squad on Monday for the World Cup, and he'll be hoping to be in the 22, but has still got a bit of fitness to prove. Robson. Barber. Forward by Pardew, Pallister with Bright, Lee Martin, Ince.
That was what you call a first aid ball from Paul Ince to Danny Wallace, and Danny Wallace, I think, is just letting Paul Ince know he wasn't too impressed.
This is Wallace again. Bright trying to get in front of Martin. This is Pallister. Good running by Pardew from midfield, but the ball didn't come through to him. O'Reilly. Offside. Bright.
The Crystal Palace play really at the moment is very predictable. You've got Mark Bright, lone figure up there. They're trying to hit him with a long ball all the time, whereas Manchester United building up much better this evening from the back through the midfield, and definitely a contrast tonight in styles of football, which wasn't there on Saturday.
Yes, there's a more measured build-up, isn't there, about the United approach. That's Ince, but it wasn't very evident there. It's a question, really, whether they can lose their markers up there. There's Bright to Gray. There was a late challenge there. Free kick. Bright was fouled by Steve Bruce. Bobby Robson, second row from the back. He's made the newspapers today. My Dutch colleague, who's broadcasting for their national television station, seems to think there's some truth in the story about the possibility of PSV Eindhoven. Anyway, more of that another time. Les Seeley's got other things on his mind. A set play for Palace. Right in the thick of it there, Gary O'Reilly and Mark Bright. And Bright's there with Pallister. This is Pardew. Gray. O'Reilly's still forward. Martin. That's good defending. Webb played it a bit short, though. Play on, says Alan Gunn. Bright's making ground in the centre. It's too long for him. Webb. That's a good ball. McClare. Webb again. Ince. Oh, that's taken. That's offence number 2 for Alan Pardew. That's got to be a booking, surely. I think he knows.
Quite right as well. There was no question. Paul Ince had skipped, as you see, just toes it past the tackle, tries to ride it. Not able to ride that one. That was what, knee high, quite rightly, his second Palace man in the book.
Well, they've got to be very careful here, because that's 2 players early in the game on cautions. And that was unforgivable, really, that challenge, because Ince would have been away. This is Martin to take the free kick for Manchester United. Short, Phelan. Hughes, a good header. McClare. Number 7, Robson. O'Reilly. Ince! Already there's been some pushing and shoving. As a free kick again. And this is getting all a little bit back-tempered, Trevor. It's a pity, really, because Saturday's game was played in such a good spirit.
Well, there, Gary O'Reilly just saying Mark Hughes, which he did. He came in late there. But to be fair, most of this opening period, it's been Crystal Palace trying to play their spoiling tactics. They've got that extra man in midfield, Richard Shaw marking Neil Webb, and Manchester United decided to try and play it through the midfield this evening and bring Crystal Palace out, and they're playing very well at the moment. And I think Crystal Palace getting frustrated because they can't seem to get forward at all themselves.
That was on by Gray. Barber's in there. Pemberton. Gray. Bright. Salako coming in far side, so is Barber. There is Barber. Both the midfield players are in there as well, Thomas and Pardew. That was Thomas. This is Salako. Seeley makes his first good save. But he's got to work hard now at the set play. It's a corner kick. Thorne and O'Reilly have taken up the near post positions. Barber's on the goal line. Here's Bright. There's Barber. Thorne goes in with O'Reilly. Can Hughes break? Shook them off well. United are away with Ince. On the left-hand side, Neil Webb, number 8. And Ince has made a terrific run through the inside left position, but well checked by two defenders. Robson. Martin. Webb again. Not the cross that he was hoping to produce as Pemberton challenged. The young man who came on with such devastating effect on Saturday, Ian Wright, but back on the bench to start tonight. Bright, Barber. Bright goes again, handball was it? Free kick given. Now there's danger here. Thomas and Alan Pardew and Andy Gray gathered round the ball. Gray would love a strike. 20 minutes gone and he's placing it. This is all part of the ploy by Crystal Palace to delay the free kick being taken. And it's Gray! Oh, saved by Seeley's legs! That's a good stop. It may even be a brilliant stop. There's a foul anyway. Now, Palace are protesting, but it seemed to me that Jeff Thomas was fouled. Now, what's Alan Gunn given? Or was there an earlier offence? Or is it merely a throw-in? Crowd still buzzing with the save. It was Thomas who was fouled. It must be a free kick, surely, which it will now be. And Barber to take it. Now they've got Thorne still in there, and O'Reilly. And Bright. That's out, goal kick. And I think we can now praise Les Seeley for a fine save from Andy Gray.
It was a particularly good save. It's an awful wall that goes through the gap, and really, it was very fortunate for Manchester United. It was almost straight at Les Seeley. He fell on it well. It bounced off his knees more than anything, his shins, but he wouldn't have seen it because they had 6 in the wall, but it came right through the middle, and there'll be questions asked at half-time about that one.
Well, the wall was awful, wasn't it? The ball went clean through, as you said. Here's Pardew. Another free kick. The rhythm and the flow of the game is being constantly interrupted. But doubtless Seeley will gain some assurance from making that save. And maybe the men in front of him will too when they turned around and saw what happened. Alderson pushing and shoving off the ball again there. It's with Webb at the moment, though. Well, Gray's come across to complain to the linesman because he's been involved in a scuffle with one of the defenders, all going on off the ball. And the referee needs eyes in his head at the moment. The back of his head, I should say, as well as in the front. But I think he works for an optical firm, Alan Gunn, so there'll be no problem there. It's O'Reilly. Jill. Just give me the time again, Lamar. We're about to take a free kick.
Shaw.
Oh, a mistake, McClair, chance for United, Wallace, offside anyway. That was McClair sliding it in and Wallace putting it wide.
In fact, Danny Wallace who was offside, Brian McClair was okay, but it was a dodgy back pass, wasn't it, Richard Shaw?
Was indeed, and with half an hour gone then in this replay, the score is 0-0. And a good moment between Les Sealey and Andy Gray. Martin. So, quarter of an hour left in the first half. Free kick then to United. Pallister and Bruce are forward. On by Bright, there's Gray. Sulako's up there too, that's Phelan. Now Thomas. O'Reilly. Still all a bit disjointed. Sulako. Thomas. Ince. Robson. Shaw. Thomas to Barber. Break for Palace maybe. Bright through the centre. Sulako. Bright still waiting in the middle as Sulako takes on Bruce. And Bruce brings him down. Free kick. Oh, referee says no. Play on, said Alan Gunn.
Well, that was definitely a free kick. But at the moment, Crystal Palace, the last few minutes, just come into it a little bit more. And I think Manchester United just got a bit niggled by some of the tackling and have allowed themselves to indulge in it and try and mix it, rather than concentrate on playing their football as they were for the first 25 minutes. That was what was frustrating Crystal Palace, and that's what they've got to get back and do.
Forward by Bruce. There goes Hughes. Pursued by O'Reilly. Wallace is on the far side. There are others coming up fast. If Hughes can keep his feet. He's tried to find Brian Robson. Andy Gray got back. Here's Bright with Pallister. Good interception. Bruce. And Robson's in there. It came off O'Reilly. Ince tries to make it. Oh, that's a bad challenge again. Andy Gray. Well, Alan Gunn certainly got a harder game on his hands here than he had on Saturday. It's a free kick to United. Pallister has moved up, so has Bruce. Still Pallister and Bruce. Webb drove it! Oh, so close for Neil Webb. That came with 10 minutes left in the first half, and it was a good effort from the England player. Trevor.
That was a great free kick, right over the wall, and there's a few the other side, possibly even on the bench, who might momentarily have thought they'd got in the net, but it was a good kick, and certainly if it had crept in that near post, Nigel Martyn wouldn't have stood a chance, really, because he, quite rightly, he's covering the other side of the goal. It was perfectly flighted just over the top of the wall.
O'Reilly. Bright and Gray making the runs here. Martin. Webb. Oh, good challenge by Pardew. Bright. Gray. Ball's gone. There was a foul. There was a foul. Seven minutes left in the first half as Andy Thorne and Gary O'Reilly make their way forward for Crystal Palace. Bright's in there too. That will be too far ahead of Thomas and Pardew. That's a Palace free kick that didn't work at all. Ince. Webb. Pallister. Hughes. Robson. Ince. Webb out to Phelan. Here he is again. And here's McClare. Webb. And again. Corners United. So there goes Pallister and Bruce again. Webb to take it. McClare's gone short. Pallister. And fairly easily claimed by Nigel Martyn. So 5 minutes left in the first half here in this FA Cup final at Wembley. Steve Coppell's team still locked 0-0 with Manchester United. And here's Bright, and Gray's run on. Robson is the man who's got back. And he gets a free kick. Fouled by Bright. Forward by Bruce.
Well, what with 4 minutes remaining, half-time is still something of a stalemate. I suppose Stevie Coppell will be thinking of Ian Wright, but whilst his midfield and tactics are nullifying Manchester United and keeping it 0-0, he might be tempted to persevere, but there's no doubt that their options when they're trying to clear it from defence are very limited. And there's Mark Wright waiting and hesitating, hoping somebody's going to join him. Really, he is their only outlet, but they're finding it difficult to get the men supporting.
It was a foul on Bright by Ince, so it's a free kick to Crystal Palace. O'Reilly has made his way forward again to join Mark Bright. Andy Gray's in there too. Salako to take it. Trying to hold the offside. There's O'Reilly, away by Martin. This is Pemberton. And Martin again, that wasn't what he intended. Oh, neither was... Oh, let's have it back then. Neil Webb playing a 1-2 off Mark Bright, I think. Brian Robson. Ince. 3 minutes left in the first half. Free kick to United. 0-0. Ince to Phelan. Well, Phil Barber was taking no chances there. It's a throw into United. Webb. Manchester United have certainly put together the better attacks. There's a couple of minutes left in the first half, but as yet no sign of a goal. It's Neil Webb with the throw. McClare's in there and so is Ince. Did that go out for a corner? No, apparently not.
As you say, they've had most of the possession, Manchester United, but probably Les Celia's had to make 2 or 3 more saves. Crystal Palace's set pieces have conjured up probably the free kicks the nearest we've had to a goal. Nigel Martin hasn't really had a clear-cut save that he's had to make.
Fair comment. This is Pemberton. Good challenge by Danny Wallace. Pemberton back at him straight away. Into the last minute of the first half then. Bruce. Phelan. McClare's made a run down the right, but that's not a good enough ball to find him. McClare. Corner given. Right at the end of the first half. Phelan's leaving it for Danny Wallace. Alistair is well forward. Bruce is in there. Here's Ince. Good play by Paul Ince. Tries to put McClare in. And Seeley waits for that to come through quite comfortably. He's been fairly well protected. And we're into time added on for stoppages at the end of the first half. And it's Paul Ince who's down. And there will be a moment's delay because the Manchester United physio is on the pitch. So it's a chance perhaps for you just to add to your half-time summary, Trevor, and tell us whether you see any change in pattern in the second half.
I'd be a bit concerned about Paul Ince because I think he's probably been one of the better players on display tonight. He worked very hard, good through ball just now. Seems to be something around the ankle area. And he's just coming up to half-time. We'll give him time to recover. But Manchester United, as I say, have had more possession. They've built through the midfield. There's Stevie Coppell making his notes. Made plenty on Saturday, but at the moment, I could only see Crystal Palace scoring really from a free kick, corner kick, or one of Andy Gray's long throws, because the general play are finding it difficult, as I say, to join Mark Bright. So it's a case of whether Manchester United, if things continue in the second half, can get that breakthrough, or whether Stevie Coppell decides to open things up a little bit and bring his extra striker Ian Wright on.
Well, he seems to be enjoying himself. We're well into stoppage time at the end of the first half, and there'll be a bit more now for the injury to Paul Ince. That's as the box across from the far side by the Royal Box, and of course it's from there that the cup will be presented tonight in some, or to one of these two teams, whatever happens in the second half, or indeed in extra time if we have it, with the possibility of penalties still looming large. Here's Robson. And Ince is not happy at all, he's hobbling, which might be a blow for Manchester United. He'll be glad to get back to the dressing room, I would think. That's any sign. Here's Webb. And Alan Gunn blows to bring the first half to a close. Not a particularly memorable one, I have to say. Very few scoring opportunities, if any. Alec Ferguson saw his goalkeeper make one save from the free kick by Andy Gray as the ball came through the wall, which would be a relief to Les Sealey, who seems to be quite happy and has shown good temperament. But the two teams still cannot be parted at this stage of the FA Cup final replay. At half-time, the score is Crystal Palace 0, Manchester United 0. So at the start of the second half, there's no score in the FA Cup final replay at Wembley. And Crystal Palace are playing now from right to left, and this is Lee Martin. Free kick given, and Mark Hughes, Gary O'Reilly. Hughes is all right again. Bruce is making his way forward. Driven long towards Hughes, he's trying to hold it up and turn. And bundled over, my word. This is Wallace. And there's a break on. If he can keep it in, and he has, and they're trying to get Thomas forward in the middle. And that's a good sliding challenge by Pallister to stop Bright. So it's a corner to Palace at the beginning of the second half, and Thorne and O'Reilly make their way towards the near post. Gray's in there as well. Gray and Sealey. Thomas, wide again to Barber. And they're still queued up in the centre. O'Reilly's in there. Solarco. Brian Robson, the last man back. And now I think it's Mark Bright that's gone down following a challenge by Steve Bruce. Well, it's all rather hectic, helter-skelter stuff, and Steve Coppell's team still sticking to their original tactics. As the United fans try to lift their side, Webb is still being shadowed by Richard Shaw, there's no change in that. Solarco still playing left back on Leclerc, Pemberton still marking Wallace. This is Pallister.
Again, as he's bringing it through, quite right, Gary Pallister, but as we're making the point with just Mark Hughes there, it's a little bit predictable as well.
Bruce. Robson's to his left. Well, maybe it'll be a defensive player that finally breaks through, because the lone strikers are pretty well marked, as Jimmy Hill said. They've got to get people up in support. Significantly enough, it was Solarco who's playing left back, who had that good shot in the first half, which Sealey did so well to deal with. There's John Solarco. Here's Bright. centre there, you can see the two of them. Bright makes the first run, tries to get free, and does. Barber's coming in behind him, and the corner conceded by Michael Phelan. O'Reilly's up there, Ince with the overhead clearance, Wallace with a little flick, now McClare, and they've got players right and left, Manchester United. Phelan saw his opportunity, Mark Hughes screaming in the centre for the cross, and Phelan went all the way down the left, but he couldn't get the ball in where Mark Hughes was waiting. He was barking out there for an earlier ball.
Quite right, it was the early ball that was on probably Michael Phelan, not on his favourite side on the left, and it would have been a long sweeping ball across the face of the retreating Palace defence that was required, and so favouring his right side, he decided to run with it.
5 minutes gone in the second half, it's 0-0 in the FA Cup final of 1990. Instructions are being passed out from the far side while Andy Thorne receives attention. Steve Coppell has been shouting to Andy Gray. As you can see, that's a little bit of management skill. I think he's giving him a bit of attention, but actually saying a few words as well, and Roger Milford, the reserve official, has waved him back. Saw the funny side of it. So we're back in play here. Martin. Bruce. And there goes Hughes, trying to get behind Andy Thorne, and he has. McClare's in the middle. Oh, turned away by Gary O'Reilly. Hughes again. McClare's still there. Robson's in there too. Palace just saving themselves. It was a good move. Here's Lee Martin. Phelan. Good ball back to Phelan by Webb. Now Wallace coming near post. It's too long for Hughes and for McClare.
Two occasions there where Manchester United managed to get behind Crystal Palace. The first one, Mark Hughes, good ball across the face of the goal. Gary O'Reilly did very well to hook it away, could easily have sliced it or bobbled it back into his own net. And the second one, Michael Phelan did all the hard work, but hit the cross far too hard. Few supporters enjoying the game now.
Yes, the disabled enclosure part of the Wembley scene at the moment, and that's good to see. In this all-seater stadium, with its new 80,000 capacity. There hasn't been too much to get them out of their seats up to now in the way of goal-scoring opportunity, although that last United attack did have promise. It was a good clearance by O'Reilly, actually. Here's Robson. Jeff Thomas, good play with his left foot. Ince challenging well as they scrap it out in midfield, and United come away with the ball. McClare. Wallace. Bruce. Pallister. Webb. This is Ince. And Robson's made a good through run. It's still Ince. He's trying to find a better angle. Wallace. Signs that Ince is back at full pace. Phelan. Oh, well, the linesman's back. It's still Phelan, though. There was a foul, a bad foul actually when the ball had gone, but the referee played an advantage. United are protesting about that. I think it might have been Salako who brought him down. It's Danny Wallace. And Brian Robson's angry and Ince is angry because they think the free kick should have been given. But the linesman said foul. Alan Gunn saw that United still had Phelan in possession and wanted to play on an advantage. That's the reason for the argument. Now, Danny Wallace was the player who was hurt. Michael Phelan plays the first ball down the line. Now, there's the foul. But you see the flag up, but Alan Gunn says play on, and he was in a good position, Phelan, and United wouldn't have complained if a goal had resulted, so they can't have it both ways, can they, Trevor?
I totally agree with Alan Gunn, the referee. There's no doubt Michael Phelan had a couple of yards away from his marker and just couldn't quite get his cross in, but he should have really made it perhaps tell more than he did. But it was a nasty tackle. Salako, Danny Wallace, who for me has had a disappointing game because he's really the one winger, the one wide person, and half a dozen times when he's had a 1-against-1, he hasn't been able to go past his man, and that's really what he's in the side for.
10 minutes gone in the second half. Webb with the throw. McClare's in there, so is Ince. It wouldn't fall for him. Webb. And it wouldn't fall for him either, as Barber clears for Palace. Bruce. Square of him is Pallister. As United keep possession, they could work it out the other side if he can find Hughes, and he can. Oh, well, oh. Dear, oh dear. Gary O'Reilly, that's another piece of gamesmanship, I have to say. Hughes was turning away from his man, and it was a foul, as indeed was the one that was booked in the first half. It's O'Reilly, he's not been cautioned. And the whistles around the stadium reflect that the flow of play was broken up again, and Mark Hughes was the victim. However, it's a free kick to Manchester United this time. It's a test for Nigel Martin, maybe, as Pallister goes forward. Brian Robson has placed the ball. It's about 30 yards out. Robson. Bruce comes in, couldn't get the touch on it that was needed. Thomas. Phelan looks for Hughes. Thorne is with him, and that's Salako.
Mark Hughes looking back, but really he and his Manchester United teammates have got to make sure they don't get ruffled like they did for a little spell in that first half. They've got to keep playing their football, because at the moment it's Crystal Palace who are trying to do the spoiling tactics.
Now, are we going to see a goal in this Cup final replay? It's all so very, very tight, isn't it? There's never been a 0-0 in a Wembley FA Cup final up to now. Here's Gray, Brian Robson bustling in, then Lee Martin, and Gray appeals to the referee. He's angry now. In fact, it's all a bit tense, isn't it, Trevor?
Well, he got the free kick. I'm not sure what he was complaining about there.
Ince having to hurdle another tackle. And now McClare, he's into the centre much more in the second half. You know, he's moved in from the right-hand side, Brian McClare, and he's having some good play and some good touches. This is Wallace. Webb. Lee Martin from left-back, an inspired run on the far side. A chance here, and a goal! What a tremendous run! And Manchester United have taken the lead, and Lee Martin made a run from left back that was, what, 40, 50 yards, took it on his chest and smashed it with his right foot past Nigel Martin, and after an hour's play, Manchester United are in front in the cup final because Andy Gray couldn't get to him, and it's the roof of the net. And Lee Martin, I only ever remember him scoring once before in the first team, Lee Martin. Certainly it wasn't this season. And United have taken the lead. after 1 hour's play. But wait a moment, here's Bright. And here's Pardew, and Brian Robson gets knocked over. That's a free kick, and it's a chance to say to Trevor Brooking, what about the goal? It was a man from the back, wasn't it?
Quite right, and really, I would think that 50-yard pass by Neil Webb has probably booked his ticket for the Italy World Cup. It was a magnificent pass. Lee Martin did very well to chest it, kept his head, rifled it into the roof of the net, and possibly, as that ball switched play brilliantly, chested it down. Andy Gray just had allowed him to get the wrong side of him. He's just about to put his hands on his head because he knows he just lost concentration briefly there. There's Brian Robson exercising his shoulder. Let's hope that's not his World Cup one of 3 or 4 years ago. But
I think we ought to have another look at that, Trevor. You know, this could be the Brian Robson shoulder unless he's careful. It was a high challenge, in my view, by Mark Bright. And Brian went down in a real heap. And it looks to me as though Jim McGregor has got him back on his feet. But there was a moment when I think Bobby Robson's heart would have stopped there, when Brian went over, particularly on that shoulder.
Of course, what the goal does mean is that we're going to see Ian Wright again. I mean, a bit like Saturday, it was 2-1 then, now it's 1-0. Stevie Coppell, while it's 0-0, would have been reluctant to have made the change, and there he is, exercising, and I'm sure within a minute or two, he's got to be added into the fray.
Well, for the moment, Lee Martin is the hero of Wembley. A lad from Hyde in Cheshire, right on United's doorstep. The local boy has scored. 22 years of age. And more trouble now involving Mark Hughes. The yellow card's out again. And this has been, by cup final standards, a bad-tempered game. Make no mistake about that. There were bookings in the first half for 2 Palace players, Bright and Pardew, and now it's Mark Hughes, who was involved in a scuffle off the ball, just lost his cool completely. Solarco, they've got Jeff Thomas in there and Barber. Header out was by Michael Phelan, and now Danny Wallace. Manchester United with the crowd right at their backs now, 1 up. But then we did say on Saturday in this cup final, never speak too soon. There's a lot more to come, I'm sure. Great ball it was for Steve Coppell, would have to admit, I think, by Neil Webb, that got Lee Martin in. That was smashing football, an excellent crossfield pass, direct play, but a good finish too. Robson, Bruce. Aimed towards Hughes and O'Reilly again, McClare. Hughes sends McClare to the left. Hughes in the middle with Webb and Robson. Goal kick. Well, here's the lad who made the difference when he came on in the first game. And it's going to be a similar substitution. Barber off and Ian Wright on. Can he do the trick again for Crystal Palace? He'll play up front with Bright. Change of formation, possibly. Although, we'll have to see if they leave Shaw on Webb. But Webb's got away once, and it could be vital. It was his pass. Wallace. Thomas. Bright. So, he has a chance again. Turn by Hughes, McClare to his left. It's Mark Hughes. Oh, it got a deflection off the defender, and Nigel Martin just keeps it in play and dives at the feet of Brian Robson, who's everywhere at the moment. Webb. McAllister was ready for Seeley to come and accept it. They're looking for an offside and they've got it against Webb. Well, are Manchester United going to make it 7 wins in the FA Cup? Sir Matt Busby certainly hopes so. They're in front at the moment. In this, their 11th FA Cup final, equalling that particular record. But Crystal Palace will have other ideas. There are 4 of them gathered around here in the middle for this free kick for where it drops. United have decided to try and push up a little bit. Gray and Bright and Wright closing in as Pallister half clears. Corner. Corner kick. Thorne and O'Reilly are on the post. Wright is in there, so is Gray. O'Reilly, oh, it didn't run for him. He scrambled against Seeley's legs. And very, very close. The goalkeeper takes credit again. Les Seeley was in the right place. Andy Gray, I think, was the player that almost scored for Steve Coppell's team there. I think it was his low shot that Seeley just got to in the crowd. It was very, very close. You can see from this, watch Gray number 4 there in the crowd. There's O'Reilly. It comes off Webb. That's Gray. It was Gray. Bruce, Seeley, maybe even a post. Offside. Well, there are 20 minutes of normal time to go. He's looking anxious. What do you think, Trevor?
I think Les Seeley used his feet again well there, didn't he? With it just Andy Gray would be a little bit disappointed because he just got tucked underneath him and he couldn't get a lot of power. It was a sort of step shot which enabled sort of Seeley to block it. I think Manchester United mustn't just sit back and try and hang on to the 1-0. Crystal Palace obviously got to push extra men forward, and after what we've seen so far this season, these last 20 minutes, are still, without any conviction, going to say who's going to win this one.
O'Reilly and Hughes. Ince. Can he take it on from here? Maybe Webb can. It's Neil Webb's shot. Now, Neil Webb made the goal. No question about that. And it really was good appreciation of what was happening on the other side of the pitch, because what was happening was Lee Martin had sneaked in ahead of Andy Gray, and that's a fabulous move, really, by Manchester United, the best of the match. And it was seen what was on by the England player. United. Well, just look there, Alec Ferguson. He thought he was close at 2-1 on Saturday, but he was robbed of the FA Cup then. It's 1-0 now. Can Manchester United hold on this time, I wonder? Or will he step in again? Forward by Webb. Danny Wallace. Robson going through the centre-forward position. It needs to go left, really. And it did go left, but good running by Brian McClare, who's having one of those indefatigable games. His stamina, one of the best among modern players. Shaw. Now Webb. Goodness me, that's a good run by Neil Webb. He's beginning to show that he's recapturing a bit of the sharpness, Trevor, isn't he?
Well, he is, and of course now that Richard Shaw's gone back to left back, he is really the extra man in midfield, and all Manchester United have got to do is funnel it through him all the time. From Crystal Palace's point of view, because the onus is on them, they're hitting those long balls at the moment, aren't they?
Here's Bright. Seeley has gone down. Goalkeeper, as Bob Wilson was saying, showing no sign of nerves, and referee wants a word with Mark Bright about the challenge on him. Bright, bear in mind, was cautioned in the first half. Wes Seeley needs attention.
I think it was close enough for the forward to feel he could just dive in, especially when you're 1-0 down. There, as you see, he's just got that side of him. Les Seeley's always going to just make it, but once you slide in like that, there's no way of pulling on the brakes, and Les Seeley will have felt it. But at 1-0 up, I think he's quite enjoying the evening and won't want to go off at this stage. But I think Crystal Palace's service into this front two has been disappointing. They're hitting a lot of long balls, and really, I think Wright in particular is very good at turning and running at people, but at the moment he's not had a decent ball into feet, and that's how I think they're going to have to play to his strength.
Alan Gunn is making quite sure that he's OK to continue. Well, the United fans already singing their songs. It may be premature, because as we've seen in the semi-final and on Saturday, you don't take anything for granted against Crystal Palace. That was off the head of Andy Thorne. Well, I wonder whether the two England players in midfield can keep their grip on this match. Webb with the throw, Robson making the run. They're very involved. You can see them there, look. Flags up. Yes, Brian Robson was fouled. He's right in the thick of it, as always. Mark Hughes and Brian McClare are over on the far side of the area where Robson is going now. Neil Webb to take the free kick. They're not risking anybody else forward. Significantly, Bruce and Pallister have stayed back for this one. Robson! Oh, against the bar! Seize on the rebound for United, but Lee Martin did in the end, and Robson's there again. Well, I don't know what you can say about the England captain that hasn't been said so many times before. So close to making it 2-0. Here's Salaka. Handball, they shouted. Well, that would have been all over, wouldn't it, if he'd put that one in, Trevor?
He's had an excellent game, Brian Robson, very inspiring. It was a magnificent header when you think Gary Pallister and Steve Bruce weren't up for the first time, and they suddenly got a header in the penalty area.
Wallace's cross, and it's going away harmlessly. Well, this is the free kick taken by Neil Webb, one England player. We were just mentioning the pair of them a moment ago. Here's Robson, who wins it really well, and the goalkeeper, well, he was a spectator, Nigel Martin, because the header was so good, but it came back off the bar. Right, offside. He's offside. It was Andy Gray who was through. They were off their seats back there in the crowd, but the linesman on the Royal Box side, Larry Watson, was flagging. Well, Manchester United must make sure they don't flag now, because the FA Cup is a little nearer, perhaps even than it was on Saturday, to Old Trafford. They think so. Offside. Just over 10 minutes of normal time, and David Madden's going to come on in a moment for Crystal Palace. I think it's John Salaka who's going off. So Madden has 10 minutes in which to try and help force extra time. still well forward, so is Bright. He took a tumble. Phelan wants it to run, but he'll have to play it at some point. Andy Gray storming across to try and take the long throw, I think. Bright and Wright are staying in the box, shaping up to face the thrower. Seeley comes with a punch. Madden drove it. Gray again. Back in. And McClair needs to do something here for United. Didn't he just? Anyway, there was a free kick given.
Good defensive header just now as well by Gary Pallister. He's had a much better game this evening. I think there was some doubt with his ankle, but I think Alec Ferguson will be relieved that he is fit because he's had an excellent match.
This is Webb. Wallace, Ince, who's actually shaken off his injury in the second half. Webb again. Phelan. Forward by Richard Shaw. Bright's up there again, so is Gray. Whistle's gone, there was a foul. Palace again just leaving the foot there. It was Gary Pallister who was injured.
But again, the strikers for Palace are having to really fight for, well, 50-50 balls at best, and really they're cannon fodder for United defenders. I would like to see them just vary it, and not one or two in particular to Ian Wright's feet. At the moment, he's come on and really hardly had a touch when you think of the devastating effect he had on Saturday. This evening there he is, and he probably just feel he hasn't been able to get in the game at all. And whilst people say, well, why didn't you touch the ball, the service into him hasn't been good.
Header was by Thorne, then O'Reilly. This is Thomas. Oh, that was Phelan to Bruce and back again. Ince. Wallace has gone to the right, it's still Paul Ince taking them on. Just going one too many against Andy Thorne, who beats him. There are 7 minutes to go of the 90. It's Manchester United 1, Crystal Palace 0 in the FA Cup replay of 1990. Scorer Lee Martin on 60 minutes. Ince.
The trio there, Paul Ince, Neil Webb and Brian Robson, has been much more influential as a unit this evening than they were on Saturday, and I think that's been the key area tonight, because it's given them the domination and the composure to knock it from the back and build up slowly, and certainly I think that's been the important area.
I think also McClair's played really well. I don't quite know what that means in Scotland terms, but you'd think he was a contender for the World Cup on this form. This is Wallace. Webb. Still Webb. Hughes is waiting in the centre. And there are 6 minutes to go, and it's a goal kick. Well, so much has happened on the road to Wembley this season in front of our cameras. Semi-finals and finals full of fluctuating moments. We can't say that this is over yet. Crystal Palace have got Wright, Bright and Gray operating as a trio up front now. That's Pallister. Got a whack for his trouble. This is Madden. Oh, look at that going on there. It's Andy Gray and Gary Pallister. Bright says get on with the game, which is pretty good advice. Andy Gray seems to have lost it a bit. But it's wide to Pemberton, and there's trouble here. Oh, he's overrun it. Well, that was going to be a promising moment, I think, Trevor.
Yeah, he's in such a hurry to try and get into good position, get the cross in, but a little bit tense, and it really went over the touchline comfortably. Perhaps the early cross was the one there, because Manchester United are pushing up, trying to play the offside themselves, and if you whip them in early, there's a little exchange that has been going on for a minute or two there between Pallister and Gray. Perhaps Pallister suggesting reminding Andy Gray what the scoreline is in those circumstances that sometimes cost him?
Well, I think what happens, Trevor, is Andy Gray has got a fairly low flash point, and is known to sort of just occasionally get carried away, and Gary Pallister and he were at it a bit there, which Alan Gunn knew, and I think just wanted to take the sting out of the situation, really. It hasn't been as easy for the referee tonight as it was in the first game. He's done pretty well, I think. And Richard Shaw. McClare, good challenge by Pardew. 4 minutes to go of the 90. I keep saying of the 90 because don't forget we're still in with a chance of extra time if Palace score. This is Bruce. Madden. Shaw. It's Bright up there, lurking. Phelan. Ferguson his heart must be thumping when he knows how near he is now. Thorne, O'Reilly. Phelan's got to watch right, he's still full of invention. Madden, well played by him. Gray. Pemberton. Bright in the middle with Wright. United win it and work it. McClare, not a very good ball for Hughes. It was really given away. Just when I said how well McClare was playing, he's in a bit of trouble, and that's offside. 3 minutes, Trevor.
Well, there's a man, I'm sure he knows. There he is, just checking, make sure it hasn't stopped, but it is still ticking away, Alex, I assure you. But those 3 minutes will take a long time to go past. But I think overall on the game, you have to say United deserve to be ahead. I mean, Crystal Palace have had a wonderful cup run, and themselves on Saturday came so close, what, 6 or 7 minutes? There they were ahead 3-2, and then Mark Hughes got them back. But tonight, I don't think they've played as well, as confidently, and has really given the ball away too quickly. They've not been able to string a few passes and settle on the ball themselves at all.
Shaw. Ince. Madden. We've played the 90 minutes, we're into stoppage time. Jeff Thomas challenged by Paul Ince. Thorne. O'Reilly. Now Gray is chasing this, so is Bright there. And there's Wright with a chance. Wright, side netting. And it might be fair to say Les Sealey had it covered anyway. But their hearts would have been in their mouths down there. Archie Knox and Alex Ferguson. Brian Kidd makes a point from behind. But look at this here. Ian Wright still a threat. Yes, he had it covered. Manchester United have won the FA Cup and equalled the record of 7 outright wins. Palace slumped to the ground. Manchester United celebrate Alex Ferguson's first major trophy at Old Trafford. Thanks to a goal by a home-produced player. He spent £13 million and the man who got the goal didn't cost a penny. And just look at that man's face. The years seem to have fallen away there from Alex Ferguson after a season of torment and tribulation. He embraces his players because this victory, well, they had to win it in many ways, didn't they, Trevor? And Pallister came through as well with flying colours.
Well, I think the experienced men did him proud this evening. Gary Pallister, I thought, had an excellent game at the back, won a lot of the balls in the air. And to be fair, Crystal Palace did concentrate on hitting the long ball in, and with his height, Gary Pallister did dominate there. But Brian Robson, as I say, Neil Webb will be pleased. But there, Lee Martin, I wouldn't like to know what the odds were on him being the opening goal scorer tonight, but I shouldn't think there's going to be many collecting their winning bets.
And we got a glimpse there of the famous old trophy, didn't we? The road to Wembley is finally over, and Sir Matt Busby sees Manchester United win the FA Cup at Wembley that is, for the 6th time, and that in itself is a record. captain of England, captain of Manchester United, Captain Marvel, 33 years of age. An outstanding personal performance again as he leads the team up the steps before leading England in the World Cup. That's the other side of the story. That's an ex-Manchester United supporter, John Pemberton, but not happy with the fact that they've won tonight for obvious reasons. So Brian Robson goes up to receive the most famous trophy in football for a record third time. Manchester United equal the record of Aston Villa and Tottenham Hotspur. They win the FA Cup for the 7th time. Behind Brian Robson come the other players with the winners' medals. Mark Hughes, Les Seeley, he can't believe it, look at that. Extraordinary story, isn't it? No need for extra time, no need for penalties. The Cup won tonight in 90 minutes by Brian Robson's Manchester United.